Good day, everyone. How are you today? If you remember, in our last video, we did a flip through of this book that's made out of envelopes, and we made a blank book out of envelopes. Here's the blank book, ready to go, and today we're going to start decorating it. Now, we're going to look at the front and back cover because that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to cover the front and the back of the envelope with printouts, and then I might decorate them some, and I may even add some lace. So, we're not going to be using the flamingos this time. Today we're going to be using my peacock set. And this is the printout, some of the printouts from my peacock set. I absolutely adore the deep blues and greens on peacocks. I made this set for a special friend of mine in Florida. Hi, Jennifer. She collects all things peacock, and I made this set for her, and now I'm going to make a journal out of it today. So this is the pieces that are in my peacock set, and I am almost ready to pull that set down and add some more to it. It's available on my Etsy store, and I will put a link to it on this video. So this is available from the Etsy store. Now, which ones am I going to use today? I have several full sheets that I had thought about using. I could use the half sheets possibly if I flipped them and did the book this way, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do my book this way, and I have this sheet that will go on. Something like this is the edge and the edge. And I'm planning to use a lace. I found this beautiful wide lace in a bag at the thrift store. This is going to go over the spine and wrap on front and back, so it would look like that. I also have this sheet that might be nice for my front cover, and that lace looks gorgeous on it too. And I have two more sheets, but I think one of them is maybe a little large. I could use this guy, but I would have to crop off some of his tail. I could do something else with his tail, but that would be lovely. And then I have this guy that would also be lovely. And the lace would look, I'm thinking about putting him on the back cover. He would cover the whole bottom half of the book, and the lace would come across him like this. Can you see that? All right, I'm thinking I'm going to use this sheet, and I'm really torn between these three. I'm going to use them all somewhere in my journal, but I'm really torn between these three. For my cover, you know, I really like this one. I think I'm going to use this one for my cover. So, before we start, we do have a decision-making process, because if we use the book in this orientation, the pockets are going to be on our left. If we flip it and use it in this orientation, well, wait a minute, this orientation, the pockets will be on our right. And it does not matter which you want. You can use either way you want. My last book, I made the pockets on the left. So I think we'll make the pockets on the right this time. Now, it's got a little sticky. I probably left a little glue showing, so I'm going to run through, make sure all my pages are opening correctly before I move on. All right, so we're going to use it this way with the pockets on the right. Now what I'm going to do is decide what part of this I want to show. I think I'm going to line it right up in those two corners. And I'm just going to take, excuse me, a little pen. And I am going to line it up as best I can. Whoop, and I let it slip. These prints were not made at home. My printer is currently out of ink at home, and I'm having difficulty finding ink cartridges. They're just not in supply at most of the stores right now, so I guess I'm going to have to break down and order them from Amazon. So in an order to do this video, I just ran to Staples and printed these out there. Now this is going to go on the back cover, but I'm going to mark it too. And as you'll notice, I'm not trying to get real close on this back. I want it out a little bit because they're going to overlap across the tiny spine on my journal. The top one can be pretty close. But see, this journal has a spine, and I'm going to want to overlap them a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is pull up my paper cutter. I love this little paper cutter. It's great for getting nice straight lines. And you see what I'm doing here. It's a little big for my camera, but that's okay. Now I'm going to line up my lines, try to get it right on the edge there. And simply cut it. And this way, I've also laid my paper in here straight. I was telling you I went to Staples, and on the whole, the colors came out nice on Staples, but I'm not real pleased with the paper. It has a little bit of a coating to it. It's a little bit shiny, and I decided, you know, I'd go ahead and use it. I'm going to get that over just a tiny bit more. I don't want any white showing, although we are going to ink these edges. So anyway, they're a little bit shiny, and I'm not sure I'm going to love that. Now these larger pieces I'm going to keep because we can do something else with them. So we'll lay them aside. The smaller pieces, of course, we're going to toss the itty bitty crumbs in the trash, but only the smallest of the crumbs go to the trash. So next time I go to Staples to get copies made, and I'm not sure it isn't cheaper to print there than it is to buy the printer ink, because once you've printed a couple of sets of digitals, you're out of ink again. Most of these printers don't volume amount of ink, and when you're doing high volume graphics that are lots of color, you'll use your ink up pretty fast. But next time I go, I think I'm going to choose my own paper because I'm not sure I love this coated paper that they had in their machine. Now we have one for the front cover, and I have purposefully, as you will see, cut it just a little bit big. And I've done that because once it's on, I can cut it flush if I need to. I can trim it some. So we've got one for the front cover and one for the back cover. Now, do I want to ink these edges? Not with brown. I'm thinking I might ink the edges with this deep blue. This is Distress ink, and this is Salty Ocean. I love these dabbers, and the ones I use are Velcro, so you can use one handle and lots of different colors on it. But as you can see, 2 minutes into it and I've got ink on my hands. Now the problem using this coated paper is you have to be careful and let things dry, and it takes a little longer to dry on coated paper. It's one of the reasons I'm not real thrilled with it, and why I didn't notice they were coated there before I came home with them. I guess I did and didn't think about it maybe. I was printing out prints and I was running around the store buying some supplies. Bought the cutest little itty bitty mouse, and it just works perfect with my laptop. Smaller than the one I had. And for some reason, my arthritic hands like it better. So, I was exploring the store. They have great art supplies there, too. And I was looking and exploring, not paying as much attention as I should have been, I guess. But next time, I will pick out my own paper. I do like the weight of this paper. It's heavier than Bond. It's a good paper, but it's just coated, and I'm not sure I like that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm using today Eileen's Tacky Glue, and I'm using the clear gel. I just bought this, and I wanted to try it out. So this is an experiment today. We're going to see how it works. One thing I could see is it's a thicker glue, and it's maybe a little harder for me to press out, which I know all the different glues out there you can choose and all the reasons to choose them. To be honest with you, I tend to choose glue on what I can squeeze the bottles easy enough, because I do have a lot of arthritis in my hands, a lot of deformity in my joints from connective tissue disorder and from arthritis. Now I'm just going to lay this on there. I'm going to make sure I've got my edges. If I have one edge over, I don't want edges to be over everywhere. I only want one edge to be over. Now I'm going to do this. Let's look at it from this side. You can move this glue for just a minute. There we go. Now I've got a little bit that's going to fold over here, and that's what I wanted. I'm going to kind of fold it and hold it. And then I'm going to use my bone folder. They call these bone folders because they used to be made out of bone in early days of bookmaking. Now, of course, they're plastic, but the name stuck. Now, I'm folding that over, and in some places it's sticking real well. In others, not so much. I may have to go back and touch it up with the glue in a couple of places, but that's okay. And it's also going to have a layer of lace over it, so we'll see. And I put the wrong one on the front cover. How about that? Let's see how repositionable it is. Yes, it's still repositionable, so I'm going to pull it and move it to my back cover and make a royal mess. Okay. Y'all, don't ever admit you do this. Don't ever admit you make mistakes. I, of course, am perfect and don't make mistakes. I did that just to prove to you guys that you can make a mistake and life is okay, right? I did it on purpose. That's my story, and I'm going to stick with it, okay? And sitting here talking and yakking and put it on the wrong side. Now I have glue all over my tape. This is why I use white paper, bond paper, because I make a mess of things sometimes. There we go. Problem solved and not an issue in sight. I didn't do anything wrong. You didn't see that, did you? Put a little glue, and you can put it on your paper or you can put it right on your book, but since the book is already covered in glue, I might as well just put it right on the book. Where is my little straight pen? There it is. I use those great big corsage pins in the end of those. Now we're going to lay this one right on here, right even with the edge. Slide it into place. This gel glue seems to set pretty quick, but it doesn't dry real fast. It just doesn't move things around a lot, which is maybe a good thing. Except, of course, when I make mistakes. Now, we're going to bring this piece over and hold it down. Try to get it to stick. We could have overlapped a little bit more, but since we're going to cover it all with our lace, it'll be fine either way. Now, let's pull our lace up here. Now, you can buy lace at the store. You can go to Walmart and buy lace. You can go to a fabric store, Hobby Lobby, Michaels. They all have lace. But I buy most of my lace at thrift shops. Now, you don't go into a thrift shop and say, where's your lace department? It kind of doesn't work that way. But what I do is I go to the thrift shops a couple times a week and just browse. And you can find lace in wherever they've got sewing donations or craft donations. And I always choose the thrift shops that work with nice or good charities. And I go with ones that have charities that I like. I also tend to go to thrift shops where I know the majority of what I make goes to whatever charity they're supporting and not to salaries of people in the corporate office. Because if I'm going to buy donated goods, and I'm using this because my scissors walked off again. I use an X-Acto knife more than I use scissors anyway, but my scissors have walked off, so I cut that with an X-Acto knife. Now, lace has a right side, and if you look at it, one side is a little more raised than the other. And you see the difference there between that side and that side? So I want the little more raised side up here, and I want this lace to go right across the end there, and then right down this side. And a lot of people will use a fabric glue for this. I'm going to use just my regular gel glue. You can also use, some people use hot glue guns for this. That's perfectly fine. I just think hot glue guns sometimes make things lumpier, and I don't like that. So I'm going to dab this cloth here. That's going to leave glue, and it's going to have to dry for a couple of minutes. Now, before I glue the back, I'm going to come right down this center here and glue a little edge. I'll cover it, and I've just rubbed it with my hand. I know I'm getting glue on my hand. That's okay. And I'm going to lay it down like this and put a little glue right here. How far is this going to come out? I'm going to kind of eyeball how far to go out with it. There you go. Now, as you'll notice, my glue is a little my lace is a little overlapped at the top. I'll trim that off when everything is dry. So here we've got the start of our cover. We've got one design there and a different design on the back. Definitely says peacock, doesn't it? I'm going to open my book up and kind of lay it like this. And I'm going to let it sit here for a minute and dry. And then we're going to get on to decorating the cover, because that's the fun part, isn't it? All right, so I will be right back and we will decorate the covers. Okay, I'm back. My book is still drying, and I went and found my wayward scissors while we were gone, and I've got to just go ahead and confess to you that my scissors didn't run away. I just put them away. See, when I put things away, instead of leaving them lay out, it becomes much more difficult to find them. Now I'm going to cut out a couple of these little things that I have, some of the little decorative things I have on my peacock sheet. And there we go. And I think I might use this cute little guy, maybe one of the stamps. Now, I have two ways that I make stamps. One of them is I actually create my own stamps on my digital sheets. And I do that by taking an existing stamp image and layering my images on top of the existing stamp image to create new stamps. And I've done that twice on this one. I've got a nice little full color flamingo or a peacock, and that didn't come that way. The stamp originally had a different square in it, and I put the one I wanted in it. I did the same with this one. So that's one way I do them, but I'm going to show you how I make stamps from cutouts from magazines or cutouts from digital sheets. And we're going to do that in a future class, so you'll want to, or a future video. So you'll want to watch for that. And I'm going to go ahead, I think, and cut out these two stamps that come with this set. And we may use them to decorate the cover of our book. Now, if you wanted to put a nameplate on your book, you could do so. On your journal. I like to do that if I'm giving it to somebody so that we can put their name right on the journal. And I can do that with stamps. I can do it with handwriting, even though I should have been a doctor because my handwriting is not readable. I was once told that artists don't write, they draw their signature, and I really think that's true. But I draw better on other things than I do my signature, trust me. Okay, here is our book. The glue is still slightly damp. We're going to let it finish drying while we work. Now let's look at what we want to do. I've got some images here. Got this one. I want to put something on here that is decorative but does not cover up too much of my beautiful peacock. Maybe that one right there with a couple of stamps. Do we like that? We need something else with it. Maybe down here. How about if we take a page from our dictionary? Let's tear a page from a dictionary here. Maybe we'll use one of these. I learned the hard way. When you're using dictionary pages, you want to make sure that you read what's on them first. Because I was making a dictionary for my granddaughter, and she's a sweet little 14-year-old, and of course 14-year-olds aren't really all that innocent, but her parents think she is. And I made the book, and I was showing it to somebody before I gave it to her, and they looked at the front and said, "Did you see what word is on this dictionary?" And it was not a real appropriate, I don't even remember what the word was. It just wasn't appropriate for the front cover of a dictionary that a 14-year-old, or a journal that a 14-year-old might take to school. So I had to go back and glue something else on it. Now I'm using this same blue here just for something different. I love the brown distressed look, but I have a sister that seems to think that I make things too dark and dreary. So this angle, maybe this angle. What do we want to do? Maybe here. What do you think? Do we like that? I think we like that. And I think what I'm going to do here is maybe take just a little bit more of this lace. Let me cut a little piece off here. And maybe I'll put a little piece of lace behind there. What do you think? Do you like that? Let's try this. Okay, I kind of like it sticking out of either side like that. Maybe go up a little bit more. I think maybe leave that big one off and put this one and this one down here. What do y'all think? You like that? I kind of like that. I think that's what we're going to go with. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue here. Thinking I'm going to have to start storing this upside down. Now I'm eyeballing where I want to put my glue. If you're not good at that, you might want to kind of measure, because you do not want your glue all over the place. And I'm getting the center of this glued down, but not necessarily the edges, and that's what I wanted. Now I'm going to turn this over. And whenever you're using pages out of a book or out of a dictionary, I'm going to turn that a little bit. I don't want it perfectly straight. How about that? Always kind of give it a little glance and make sure there's nothing embarrassing on there that you wouldn't want. Particularly if you're giving it as a gift. You have to forgive me every bit. I'm taking a sip of my coffee because coffee is what keeps me civil. And without it, I can be a grouch. We aren't hearing any background noises today. My husband has been vacuuming my house. He's taken it upon himself this month to vacuum every surface in our house. The ceilings, the floors, the walls, the backs of the picture frames. Isn't he wonderful? And no, I don't rent him out. He's all mine. But he's been vacuuming, and behind all my videos, I've been hearing this very faint sound of vacuuming. Okay, that's what I'm going to do for the cover right now. I'm not going to do anything on the back cover yet. We will decide later on the back cover. But this is what I'm going to do for the front cover right now. And we could go back and add more later, okay? But this is what I'm doing right now just for the front cover. All right, now in our next video, which I think I'll post 2 videos today, and in our second video we'll be starting this inside page, making some journal cards to go right here. We'll make some journal cards, and then we're going to decide what we're going to do with the inside page. All right, so I will be back.